if I allow myself to build my business the way that I want to show up the way that I want to show up, to speak the way that I want to speak, to offer the things that I want to offer, to build out my brand the way that I want to build out my brand? Like, what if I shined from the inside of me? And what if there are so many people waiting to find me? If I shoot up my beacon with exactly the way that I am, I know that there are going to be people that are going to say, there's my person.
Hello, prosperity seekers. Welcome to another episode of The Prosperity Approach. I'm your host, Allyson Chavez, and I am so excited for today's conversation and to introduce you to like a soul sister of mine. We're going to talk all about alignment today and how to tell when you're out of alignment and how to get back into your personal flow. And I am, based on what's going on in my life right now, I'm pretty sure this conversation is for me. So it's so much fun. But before I show her off to you, just some quick reminders. If you're listening to the audio version of this episode, be sure you're following the podcast on your favorite app. And if you are watching us on YouTube, we sure would love and appreciate if you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you'll be notified every time we drop a new podcast. And come on over to AllysonChavez.com for more resources to get to your next levels of success without that hustle, learning about the new success model for women. So no more burnout, no more frustration, no more feeling unfulfilled, and really falling in love with your life as you go. And you can go to AllysonChavez.com for all of those goodies. So now, time for alignment with someone who has quickly become one of my favorite people, LauraAura. Let me tell you a little bit about her. She's an alignment coach for driven female entrepreneurs to undo the shoulds of life and business and reclaim the parts of themselves that they have unintentionally given away to people, circumstances, or situations so that they can create the aligned business that they actually want. Laura is the CEO of Works & Co., an urban branding studio. She's the host of the Gutsy podcast. She's a speaker, she's an author, and she is an all-around visionary. And here's a fun fact. The Gutsy podcast, which I have been on, it was so much fun. It's such an honor. It's actually been downloaded over 47,000 times in 108 countries, and it's designed to empower women in business while humanizing the realness that happens behind the scenes. So you're going to get a real raw, vulnerable, open conversation about alignment today. Laura will be the first person to push you out of the comfort zone and the last to hug you as you head to the next level of your life. Her energy is contagious, hence an aura. And if you're up for the challenge, she just might trick you into believing in yourself. So Laura, oh my gosh, thank you for being on the Prosperity Approach.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. We've had such a beautiful connection leading up to this. So I can't wait to see what magic happens.
Agreed. In fact, when we talked a little while ago, I was like, oh my gosh, I wish I had just pressed record on this whole conversation. We just could have called it a podcast episode right then because it was so juicy and it was so yummy. And I just have to tell everybody, I'm in lots of big projects right now. And I went from a coaching call that went over right before we were scheduled to record our podcast. So I'm jumping into this and I'm a little bit swirly. And Laura's like, hey, just let's get back into your body. If you need to take a few minutes, take a few minutes. I was 10 minutes late. So I hate being late for things. And it was so beautiful that you gave me that space to be like, all right, let's align, let's realign, let's get back into what are we going to talk about? What do we want to do? But most important, let's just get back into my body. And so you just are so gracious with that. And I knew based on that, we're going to have such a fantastic conversation.
And I think it's important. And that's why one of the many reasons I love the work that I do is to give women the permission that they don't need, but sometimes need to hear. And it's we don't give ourselves enough time or ability or whatever it is to say, you know what? I'm feeling a little bit frazzled at the moment. I need a hot minute to land. And so being able to, I pick up on energies, right? I'm intuitive by nature. That's part of the work that I do. Mm-hmm. And so I can feel that energy. And it's let's just take a minute to come back into yourself. But the thing that you did, and I don't want to dismiss this, is you took advantage of it. You said, you know what? I'm going to do that. And you turned off the camera and you turned off the audio and you took, I don't know, 2 minutes?
Yeah.
And you came back and I'm like, there she is. There's your aligned energy. There's the Allyson that I know. Like that's, you came back into yourself, and that is where your power is.
Oh, for sure. For sure. And that's where everybody's power is. And so no wonder you were like, hey, do you want to go off camera? Because you're feeling like all this frazzle for me. You're
well,
like,
I know sometimes like you need to just like shake it out, or like let your tongue hang out, or do whatever, jazz hands that you need to do, whatever. And sometimes you don't want to be on camera when you're doing that. And sometimes you do, when either one is okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you know what I loved about that is that I think that most of us think that getting back into alignment is like this whole big long process that we have to go through. And like, I need to lie down and I need to light a candle and I need to put on soothing music and I need to go to the altar and light incense or like all of these things. And that's not to discount any of those kind of rituals, but I really think that we sacrifice our alignment for the process because we think it's supposed to take a long time.
Absolutely. I mean, it's stuff that we're fed, right? Like, well, it has to be this whole evolutionary thing. And like, yes, sometimes things take time, but things happen very quickly in alignment, and getting into alignment can happen just as quickly. And it can seriously be something as simple as recognizing. I recognize when I'm out of my body, and then pausing, reframing that, and then getting back into yourself and making an aligned conscious decision from there. So it's literally in these little kind of snapping moments where you're like, I recognize something's not quite right. Let me get into myself. Okay, now I can go. And that's literally how quickly you can shift your energy.
Okay.
I'm down for a good incense and
right,
and like grounding. Like I would love to always just be barefoot in the grass. But all of those tools and resources aren't always available to us. And so how can we harness who we are and what we have inside that's always with us?
Mm-hmm. I love that. Okay. So here's my question. You work with driven female entrepreneurs, which means they're in masculine energy most of the time. And so when you talk about like, hey, you're not even in your body, I wonder how many of us even really knows what it feels like to not be in your body. Because I think, like we have this spiritualism that can go into mysticism really quickly. And then we have like the practicality, and we don't think that there's any gray area, but there's a lot of gray area. So what are some ways that women can know that we're out of our body? Because for a long time, I didn't know that I was out of my body.
Absolutely. I mean, first and foremost, it's the first thing that I want to ask you is, do you feel alive? Do you feel excited? Are you happy? Do you have joy in your life? Like sometimes we literally just need to come back to basics and take what I would consider an emotional inventory of who we are and where we're at in this world and how things are going. Like you can be super successful and out of alignment.
100%. Mm-hmm. But how do you know?
How do you know? When you feel into the first thing, honestly, you have to be willing to feel into yourself. That's a huge, huge portion of this, because if you're not willing to say like, hey, I need to kind of look at myself in the mirror and feel out, how do I truly feel today? Am I actually happy? Yeah, something could be going insanely well, but am I happy? Or maybe something's not going very well and you're just in kind of frantic energy and you're like, am I happy? Like come back into yourself and recognize like, is this truly what I want to be doing? And do I feel alive? Alive meaning, do you feel fun and playful and energetic and rested and excited about things, and you have motivation to do the things that you want to do? And like, is all of this like energy backing you up in a way that like, hey, you know what? This feels really good. And look, we all have moments. We have days.
Oh, yeah.
Absolute seasons for sure.
Yeah. Okay. And so I wonder, and allow me to interrupt for just a second, because I would imagine that there are quite a few women that would answer no to those questions. I don't feel motivated. I don't actually really feel alive. I feel like I'm dragging myself through the day, but I don't have a choice and I have to get this done. And there are sparks of that. So are all of those things indications, first of all, that you're not aligned? And second is, do we just like throw in the towel for that?
So absolute markers that you could be out of alignment.
Okay.
I think it's important to recognize for yourself, because I don't know that it's like the way I feel aligned may not be the same way that you feel aligned.
Mm-hmm.
May not be the same way that everyone listening feels aligned.
Uh-huh.
And so if you feel like you are in a mundane routine, everything is hard, you have to force yourself to do stuff. Like it's just the same freaking story over and over and over again. My friend, you are out of alignment.
That's actually really refreshing to hear. Because as women, we can pick up on that quite easily. If like, I'm really not fulfilled. I really feel frustrated most of the time. I really feel overwhelmed. I feel burned out. And those are all indicators of out of alignment. Do you know how I know I'm out of alignment? Like on a day-to-day basis? Because we're talking like now, like, big umbrella life things, but I can tell if I'm out of alignment because I start doing this. And it's not a cleansing breath. It's one of those like, oh my gosh, this is really heavy. So, and I appreciate that because in the past it's been like, I'm in too much masculine energy, but I haven't tied it to, it's actually popped me out of alignment.
Yes. And honestly, it can be easier to identify those things than just even ask yourself, am I happy? Because it's a deep question.
It is.
Like that goes real deep, real quickly. And so if you're not in the stage to approach that, that's okay. Just start to recognize how you feel on a daily basis. That's first step. Just recognize, are you feeling like you're overworked, exhausted, unmotivated, all those things that we just mentioned? And if so, okay, I know that this is not how I want to feel. And then remembering a time, like, is there a time where you did feel alive? What were you doing? What made you feel excited? What got you out of bed really quickly and you like couldn't wait to do the thing? Like, what are those things that were happening and how did you feel in those moments? You had asked about, do we just throw in the towel? I think a really important part about alignment is to recognize that we don't have to flip the whole table over overnight. Like being out of alignment doesn't mean that you have to like sell your house and divorce your spouse and close your business and change your wardrobe and cut off your hair and get piercings and go to Bali.
We don't have to eat, pray, love this way to get it back into alignment.
I have to go to Bali for 4 weeks. Now, of course, if any of those things you feel called to, have at it, my friend. But getting into alignment doesn't mean that you have to like flip the whole table over overnight. It's really about these tiny incremental shifts that you make on a daily basis that start to add up to bigger change. So that's a big thing. It's like, please don't feel like, to make a change, it doesn't have to be drastic and tomorrow. Like there are so many things that you can implement today and tomorrow and the next day that really add up.
And I really appreciate you saying this because I think now more than ever, we live in this culture of extremes.
Yes.
And so we're either like doing it all or we're doing absolutely nothing. And we have to just burn everything to the ground and start fresh. We have to start fresh again. And then like all of that. And especially as driven entrepreneurs and as women who we have this natural beat up stick of not enoughness or I need permission or I should be better, like all of the shoulds that we were talking about that you help people unwind and get away from, that it can make us feel like, all right, well, I can't change this. So I might as well just like plow through the day. Or like me, I would just want to sleep all the time. I want to sleep until Saturday. I'd still get up every day with the thought of, I really don't want to do this day, but I have to do this day because I have no choice and I got to show up and like all of those things. But really what I want to do was sleep to the weekend because then I could breathe during the weekend and didn't even recognize at the time that I was so whacked out of alignment, but because I swung from one extreme to the next, which I think a lot of us do these days. So it's actually really refreshing to know that you don't have to upend the entire table. What would you suggest that we do though?
Well, there's a lot of things. I'd love to share first, if you don't mind. Do you want to know how I know when I'm out of alignment?
Yes, please. Yes.
I get frantic.
Really?
Yes. So my natural demeanor is pretty cool and chill and just full of like a lot of love and encouragement. I know that I'm out of alignment when I start, oh, I should do this and I should do that and I should probably fix this. And what if I go in here and I get into my website and I should call this person back? Oh my gosh, did I pay that bill? And like, holy mother.
Holy cow. Okay. I do that too.
Absolute misalignment. And I did it today. I absolutely did it today. So proof here that this is not about perfection, but really about recognizing and then taking your power back in that moment and making those shifts. So I was getting into my website where I probably shouldn't even be, to be honest with you. I should let my team in there.
Uh-huh.
And I started to try to do all these things and I started getting antsy and then I start getting kind of snippy. I don't love that part of me, but it's a part of me. And so I was like, oh, there's that version of me. That's actually not my aligned self. So what do I need to do right now? I walked away from the computer. Let me get away. Walk away from it. So, and that's something that you can do. So if you're recognizing some of these patterns and behaviors and things that you're doing on a regular basis, first and foremost, always is start to recognize when you're feeling snippy or irritable or sad or just like not in your natural state. Like lean into who are you actually and how do you feel your best? How do you feel when you are at your best? What is your neutral state? And when you know your neutral state, you can start to see when the pendulum is swinging out of alignment, that's not her. It can even go to the other extreme where you're like, making quick rash decisions because you're so in the moment of something and you're not like thinking through things and making solid grounded decisions. Like it can go a lot of different ways. So recognizing first, what do I feel like at my best? And then noticing when you start to go into a different type of energy, because it's recognizing in those moments, that's where you're able to say, okay, I see it. Now I can change it. Now I can shift it. Now I can choose differently, because otherwise you are in this mindless routine of a day and of a life. And you go by every single day without even recognizing like, who am I? What am I doing? And what if I stopped for a hot second and honored who I am and what I actually want? Then I can start making powerful aligned decisions.
So let's talk about like the benefits of alignment. Why is it so important? Because I mean, to your point at the beginning of the conversation, you can be very successful and also completely unaligned.
Yes.
So what are so people are like, well then, but if you're successful and you're not aligned, who really cares if you're aligned or not? So why is it so important?
If you want a bunch of money in the bank and feel sad every night, then that's okay. If that's what you choose, then that's on you. But I'm going to guess that you don't want to be sad every night or have anxiety every morning when you wake up, or wake up and say, you know what, this thing that I'm doing actually makes a lot of money, but I can't freaking stand doing it. And it makes me angry, or you feel bitter about the work that you're doing. That's misaligned success.
Yeah.
You can have aligned success, which is literally limitless. That's one of the coolest things about everything is it's limitless. And so when you have aligned success, everything gets to be easier. When you are an aligned embodied self, work is easier, relationships are easier, your time, your energy, your health, holy moly, like things can fester in your body so much. You go and I'm not a doctor by any means, so I'm not even going to pretend, but I do energy work. And I know for certain that you can go to the doctor for years and nothing's wrong. Everything's fine. The labs are great, and you're like, why do I feel like crap? One of the reasons could be because you've been out of alignment for so damn long. Your body is trying to tell you, I need more rest. I need more playfulness. I need more adventure. I don't need to work my face off in order to receive success. And so when you are in alignment, you can have success that feels good to you. It's easier to get clients. It's more enjoyable to do the work that you're doing. You're not thinking about like the what ifs and the, oh my gosh, and everything's going to crash and burn overnight, at 3:00 in the morning when you're trying to sleep.
That used to be my default. Yeah.
You're not waking up in the morning with anxiety and regret. You're waking up saying, you know what? I get to do this amazing stuff today. It brings me joy to do this work. It brings me joy to be of service to my clients the way that I am. I love what I do, and I also get to make a lot of money doing it. How freaking cool is that? Like, I would much rather do that than have a shit ton of success and be out of alignment.
Yeah, because here's the thing, like I had that. And success is relative. So some people,
Yes.
when I first hit multiple six figures and it was 20 grand a month, some people are like, that's all. Most people were like, wait, what?
Yes.
But I actually didn't feel successful. I felt almost, how we get imposter syndrome when we first start?
Yes.
It wasn't imposter syndrome, but it was certainly like, this facade feels like a lie. Because I am so anxious. I wasn't holding my worth. I was over delivering, not because I was serving from the overflow, but it was trying to make up for any perceived lack in myself. I mean, it was awful. It was awful. And when it all went away, because you can't sustain that when you're misaligned, you can't sustain any level of success if you're not aligned to it. I remember when I was building it back that I was very, very clear that if I had to be filled with anxiety and scarcity and fear and work so hard like I did before, I didn't want anything to do with it. Yes. I didn't, because there was no amount of money or things that I could get that was worth the price that I paid the first time around.
And that's, you bring up such an important point, is like, you have to, the beginning work is really recognizing, like, how do I want to feel?
Yes.
What do I actually want? Like, I remember one of the most pivotal points in my business was when COVID happened and, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
I had to make a really hard decision very quickly. And I remember after I had gone home, I was back by myself. I had a team. I very quickly had to release everyone on my team, and I packed up all my stuff and I went home. And I went in my basement and rebuilt my business over the next 6 months, literally from the ground up. And I can remember the most powerful thing that I think I've ever asked myself was, I was sitting down there, I don't know, it was like 11 o'clock at night one night, and I'm just sobbing, and it was ugly. It was not a good time.
Mm-hmm.
I remember, and I sat back in my chair and I said, what does Laura want? Because up until that point, I had got caught in all of the shoulds. I should build my business like this because this is how everyone else has told me to do it, or I've seen other people do it. Mm-hmm. I should take care of my employees this certain way. I should not pay myself to make sure that they are paid. I should have all these extra services. I should take on all these additional things, like all of this stuff. Mm-hmm. And I ended up with this diluted version of the business that I had created. I was trapped in the very thing that I created.
Been there.
And that is terrible. It's some of the lowest low feeling that I've ever experienced. Mm-hmm. And because then what do? You're literally in the midst of this world that you've created that you can't stand being in. And so getting very real with yourself and having the hard and honest conversation to say, what do I actually want? What if I allow myself to build my business the way that I want to show up the way that I want to show up, to speak the way that I want to speak, to offer the things that I want to offer, to build out my brand the way that I want to build out my brand? Like, what if I shined from the inside of me? And what if there are so many people waiting to find me? If I shoot up my beacon with exactly the way that I am, I know that there are going to be people that are going to say, there's my person. That's the one I've been looking for. It's life-changing. That very simple question. What does Susan want? What does Carrie want? What does Allyson want? Like, you say that, like, if you sit back into that, the hair on the back of your neck will stand up. That's your intuition being like, hello, it's been a little while. It's nice to see you.
Yes, it's nice to have a visit. Once again, it's been a very long time.
We meet again.
So, we meet again.
So I say all that to say, like, the baseline is coming back into yourself and saying, what do I really want? And allowing yourself to build your thing, whatever that is, the way that it feels right to you. Because it gets easier and it's more fun and it's enjoyable and things just happen and flow in a way that it's almost undescribable.
Was it scary?
Always. But when I'm in alignment, it's not. Now,
Why?
certainly some fears might pop up, or a little bit of overthinking, or
Mhm.
it's just some like learned behaviors.
Mhm.
But I'll tell you a quick story. So, we went through all that, I rebuilt the company, rebuilt everything, expanded in the ways that I wanted to.
Mhm.
And one of the decisions that I needed to make in that transition was leaving the office space that I was in. I had built out this whole space. Part of what we do in my coaching or in my branding agencies, we brand buildings. So we had built out this whole beautiful space, and I just loved it. It was amazing. However, it was in an environment that was toxic.
Uh-huh.
And I had to let it go. And I fought. Oh, did I fight letting that space go? Like, I built this and I put all this time and effort into it. I'm going to stick to it and put my foot on the ground. And then one day I was like, this isn't working anymore. I need to let this go. So I said, okay, all right, universe, you want me to let this go? I'm going to let it go. So I made a vision board for what I saw next. I'm like, what if I just lean into this? And so I'm driving home and I see this 3-story building in my downtown. And I've seen this building every day for my whole life. And on this particular day, I drove by it and I looked at it and I went, I think that's my building. So I called the owner, asked him if I could rent the 3rd floor. He's like, I'm not interested in being a landlord. I'm like, that's cool. I get it. Can I come look at it anyways? For whatever reason, he said yes. I walk in this building and every hair on my body stood on end. The vision for what I wanted to do with this building downloaded faster than I could even put it anywhere. And I got this like internal nudge that said, tell this guy your vision. And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, this is insane. This guy already thinks that I'm batshit crazy. Now I'm going to share this vision for this building. And that's not for sale, by the way. So I tell him the vision. And I'm like, I'm going to give you a week to process all this. I emailed him a week later. I said, it would be an honor to buy your building. And he said, I would love to help make your vision come true. Yes.
Wow. I just got full body chills.
Yes. So it gets better. How I know that this is my building. You know that I am LauraAura. That is me. That is my brand. That's my embodiment. That is my aligned self, by the way. When we were walking through the space, gathering things, by the way, the funding came in without a hitch. Bank said yes very quickly. Closing was smooth. Inspection, no problems. I mean, it's like when you're in alignment, it's almost like being on an 8-lane highway and there are no cars.
Mm-hmm.
You're just going. You're just on this journey uninterrupted, and it's just beautiful. And so we were walking around and showing our son, what we were thinking. And he goes, Mommy, did you see the box that says Aura on it? And I said, are you shitting me right now? I turn around and there is this box. By this time, I had already known that I wanted to call this the Aura building. I'd already claimed it. I grabbed the Instagram handle. I did the whole thing before we even bought it. And so I turn around and there is a box. And on all 4 sides, it says Aura. And I said, I have been led to the right place.
Well, if that's not a sign.
This is my building. So I'm in it here now, and we're building it out, and it's a whole beautiful thing. But I share that because that is one of my most powerful alignment stories that I could ever share. Because I had to recognize that where I was no longer working.
Mm-hmm.
That I was actually putting a weight on my own abilities and my own success. I was stopping it because I was holding on to it. It was like this death grip. Like, I have to hold on to this for dear life. Because if I let go of it, what might happen? And I get that. Like, I honor that so much. That's a challenging place, but that's also your body and your intuition and your spirit guides and everything that you believe in saying, what if you trust me? What if you let go a little bit? Yeah. And you let go and you open yourself up to say, okay, show me what's next. Show me the right next step. Let me lean into this a little bit further. And when you get out of your own way, the things that are intended for you can literally fly at you, like can show up today. Like it's actually kind of insane and a little bit weird. And I love it. I'm here for it. But these things can happen very quickly. From the time I released that space to the time that we moved in was a matter of 8 weeks.
Wow.
I needed 50 grand to go to closing. I did not have 50 grand in the bank, but I said, you know what? It's fine. I'll get it. And I leaned into it. And in 6 weeks, I earned an additional 50 grand in my business and I paid cash at closing.
Wow.
That easy. Like that's the power of alignment.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to get out of our own way. We are our own worst enemy, but we are also our greatest advocate. So when you lean into what's possible and you say, you know what, I am worth finding out what's next. What if I lean into this and say, you know what, great things can happen and I'm here for it.
What if you're aligned? And I know we're going over just a little bit, but this question keeps banging around in my mind. So I know somebody is asking, what if you're really aligned to your vision, but as you're moving forward, everything is falling apart, like nothing is working? What do you do in that case? Is that an indication that you're not aligned, or like what would that be an indication of?
Yeah, so that's actually a really solid question. I love that you asked that. A couple of things come to mind. First is timing. Maybe we're trying to rush something or force something to happen in a time frame it's not intended. So sometimes those things just need more time to mature and blossom and turn into what it needs to be. It also could mean that there's more information that you need for it to become a thing. So when I'm trying to like force something and I'm like, I want it to happen on my time, the universe is like, not really how that works. Not really how it works. And the other thing, it could be a tinkering, right? Like I look at it like a box of Legos.
Mm-hmm.
Got all these pieces, you've got the instruction book, but maybe like 3 or 4 pages are pulled out of it. So you can see the beginning, you know what the final product is, but we're trying to figure out what those things in the middle are. And so sometimes it's a tinkering of, are the right people in the right place? Am I trying to force something to happen? Is it a messaging type of shift that needs to happen? There's a lot of pieces that go into, if it's not working, and really recognizing like, is this truly meant for me? Do I still feel excited about this? And if so, it's probably still mine, but it just might need some more time to grow and develop.
So what I'm hearing you say is if you're in a rush, or if you're insisting on your own time frame, or you feel like you're forcing, those are indications that you're out of alignment.
Yes.
At least in the process, you might be fully aligned to your vision, but you're misaligned in the action because the action isn't actually inspired.
Yes. Beautiful.
Okay. I love that. Thank you. Whoever it was like, ask this question. Thank you. Because that was very helpful for me as well. Laura, this has been amazing. I have to have you back because I love conversations with you. And I want people to be able to like eavesdrop in on the conversations that we have. And I know people are going to be like, how do I find her? So tell us how to find you. Tell us the freebie that you have for us, all the good things.
Yes. So LauraAura.com. It's LauraAura.com. Is the hub for all things my world. That's where you can sign up and take the Power League quiz. So I've identified that there's 5 key areas where female entrepreneurs tend to unintentionally give away their power, which is their mind, their time, their voice, their presence, and their money. And so by identifying where we may be unintentionally giving it away, and I say that because like nobody wakes up and is like, you know what I want to do today? Give away my power. Like it just doesn't happen like that. I would love to give you all of myself today and I have nothing. So walking through the quiz, it's a free quiz that helps you to identify that. And then you'll get some emails that help to support how you can step back into your power and get into alignment. What else did you ask me?
Tell us about your podcast.
Yes, the Gutsy podcast. So I love having great conversations with amazing humans that are doing great things. So the Gutsy podcast comes out every week. There's a Tuesday episode with a guest, usually talking about something very specific. And then every Thursday are short little bite-sized episodes called Power Back episodes. They're usually 5 to 10 minutes long. And it's like very intentional action. I'm a huge, huge, huge advocate for embracing your energy and intuition and all things magical, but then taking grounded, practical action to get that into place, because you can be in one or the other, but they need both. Kind of like the feminine and the masculine energy. They need each other. They are yin and yang. And then the Gutsy Collective, I think we talked a little bit about, is my online community. If you happen to be local to me, I'm in Pennsylvania. I do a local version as well, but I'd love to support female entrepreneurs on their journey.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I'm going to go pick up that freebie that you have, the Power Leaks. I love that. I love that. That is awesome.
So message me and tell me which one came up for you.
I will. I totally will. So, Gal, thank you so much. This went so fast. Like I said, I got to have you on again. I'm sure you're going to be a fan favorite. But again, we appreciate you being here. Hope that this conversation was helpful for you. I actually know that it absolutely was. I know that it's changed my life. So thank you so much, Laura. Thank you all for watching or for listening. And remember, until next time, prosperity becomes you. Bye-bye.